Hello everyone, it's Noel from Noel's Nook, and today we're doing more of an exploratory exercise with ink today instead of a full-blown paint with me. And I got the idea from doing a piece that you will see coming next month, that is March. And pretty much starting this Thursday? Yeah, so tomorrow, because this video comes out on Wednesday. So starting tomorrow, and then continuing on through the entire month of March, you will see a new video out from me every single day. And they are going to be kind of similar. I've been calling it my 30 Days, 30 Ways series, where every day I'll take an image, but I will color it or paint it differently every day. So the image will be the same, but the way that I finish it will be different. So anyway, I did a piece recently for that series, and I used ink, and I was having a lot of fun with it. So I thought it would be, you know, just a fun little exercise for you guys, maybe. I don't know, it's gonna be fun for me. Just to explore ink and all that stuff. And I wasn't really sure what to paint today. There's only so many landscapes I feel like painting when it's dark and gloomy outside. So what I'm gonna do is I am going to perhaps, let's label one half dry. Alright, we'll label this half of the paper dry, and we'll label this half of the paper wet. And we're just going to have fun. We're going to do a bunch of random techniques and stuff today, using mostly ink supplies and things like that. So, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'll just freely admit that. But pretty much, I have some India ink here. It's just plain old black India ink. And I repurposed this garlic jar, which I don't recommend. I believe I've said that before. I don't recommend using at least a garlic jar because every time I open it, it smells awful. But I'm just using the Blick Studio, or whatever they call it, the Blick brand Black Cat waterproof India ink. I'm not so sure about it right now because I've said before, I have been using, or I have used in the past, I've used this stuff. You can't buy it in this brand. They rebranded or something. So instead of Pro Art or Artworks, it's like something else. You can still look it up. I'm not really sure. I looked it up on Hobby Lobby and they had it for about $5 or something like that. And this is, I believe, 2 ounces. So not bad. It lasts a long time. I've had this same bottle for like 10 years. So, and that's only because I haven't used it much. And I found that with that brand, I don't know, I remember it being very opaque and pretty thick, but I realized recently that when I got back into dip pens that it was really hard to get out like of the nib. It was giving a lot of trouble. This stuff doesn't give me a lot of trouble, but it is quite watery. But it makes it great for ink washes, so that's what I'm going with today. So on this side, you know what? I think I'll start with the wet side first because that way it can dry and things. And I'm left-handed, so it's easier. So we will start with that side. So I'm just going to, I want to show you guys a couple of different things that I'm thinking of doing. All right, so I'm going to make the bottom half of this wet, because I want this to be damp when I get around to it. I don't want it to be like really wet, like soggy, all puddly and stuff. So that means I can work on the top while this is drying. Okay. So that's gonna just kind of evaporate a little, and we'll try stuff out on top here. Alright, so I didn't let this soak into the paper very much. So I'm letting that half kind of let me play around. So I did dampen my brush here, and I just got a little bit of that ink on, or not a little bit, a moderate amount of ink on my brush here, and we'll just dip. And see, that's what I think is so cool. Let me just get down in there. There you go, there you go. Now you can watch. It kind of spiders and feathers. Oh, look at that. That was neat. That actually didn't hit the paper. The ink hit the water, and then it did all that. On this side, it did hit the paper. So that's pretty cool. And I just thought this was really neat when I was working yesterday. And I also found that, you know, you can like swirl your brush in and do all sorts of fun techniques. So if you're finding that you need to, maybe if you want to produce certain effects or something for an image, play around and stuff. So I just thought that was pretty cool. All right, so that's with a really wet surface. And because this paper is kind of lopsided, I tried to use a different notebook today for my work. But because this was kind of lopsided, that's pretty much the effect that you're going to see when we do the bottom half here. Well, maybe a little bit less since it's really dry now. Actually, you know what? Let's try using a dry brush with some ink on it. See if that makes any difference. So this brush is dry and I put a little bit of ink on it. So see, it's not as harsh. The effect's not as harsh. It's very soft. So that's with a dry brush. Now my brush is wet. Let's try it with a wet brush and see if it makes a difference. All right, let's go in. So it's just a little bit darker, I guess, maybe. And see, it's starting to sputter. You see those little like feathery lines. So this is more like cloud-like, and this has little spidery tendrils. And that's why you have to play with your art supplies. You really do. Just so you can like figure out what kinds of effects that you can achieve with them. That's neat. And just play around. Ooh, hold on. My phone is... Okay, that was an email. I am somewhat expecting somewhat of a call, so I apologize if that happens during our time together. Okay. So that was the wet side. Let's try the dry side. So we'll just flip it over. Okay. Get another brush. I need a dry brush. I guess I gotta whip out some of my not so professional brushes. I do recommend that if you are just starting out, to perhaps try bargain brushes. They come in these packs and things. I mean, you could start with them only if you're unsure of how you want to go about with your artwork. And then once you find that you like brushes or you like painting or whatever, then, you know, go ahead and invest in better ones. But and always keep these around too, because they're really great for, you know, as throwaway brushes. Like, say there's like a really messy medium and you find that your brush is completely ruined after trying it out. That way you don't ruin your good brushes. Okay, so this is the dry surface. Let me just make sure that's in view. Okay, let's try a dry brush on dry paper. Try not to get a whole lot of this. So dry India ink on dry watercolor paper. And like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of this particular brand. Let's bring out the other brand, just so you can see. Also, if you can get a dropper bottle, they're awesome. I love using droppers. Here, I'll show you. I think this dropper still works. All right, ready? I love it. It's just fun. Ooh, that one really stinks. All right, so this is the Blick, and this is the Pro Art, the 10-year-old Pro Art. And of course, this is pretty thick because I used a big dropper, but you know what? Let's try the same thing. I need a different brush so we can really test the variables. Yeah, but you can see that this This is just not as opaque as this stuff. Alright, I need a droppy drop. Here we go. I keep a lot of these around too, these pipettes. Really cheap. Just keep them around. Alright, so big glob right there. And they're really easy to clean out, but if you don't want to clean them out, you can just throw them away. But I believe in reducing, reusing, and recycling. I'll clean that out a little bit more later. Okay, let's spread this out with my dry brush that I just kind of got out. This one's really watery. And let's spread it out as much as the other one was. There we go. Those will take a while to dry. But if you need like solid black backgrounds, India ink is the way to go. I mean, you could use paint or something, but India ink is probably quicker to dry in my opinion. It's usually waterproof. It's not usually that reworkable. Of course, different brands have different properties, so. But for the most part, India ink is pretty much the way to go. It's pretty opaque. Alright, you know, I actually saw a technique on Instagram where an artist was using a pen. She was using, like, I don't know what she was using really. She was using a pen though. I don't know what exactly, like brand or anything, but she was using an ink pen and she was just drawing and then she was wetting her paper and it made like a watercolor effect and it was really cool. So let's just try something out here. I have a brush pen here. This is the Faber-Castell Pitt pen. It's supposed to be waterproof or something like that. Let me see. We have waterproof, but that's only when it's dry. If it's not dry, it'll just slightly smudge. Now she was using something. She might have been using a watercolor pen for all I know, or like a, I'll have to show you guys. They have these watercolor brush pens where you can use them, or markers. They're like watercolor markers. So you can see that it's holding pretty good there. But I still got a lot of pickup. Actually, that's not too bad. Something that you can do there. You know what? How does that work with a wet surface, I wonder? Alright, so we're going to use this on a wet surface. I need new water. My water's all black. Need some water. My one brush is all tearing apart. Because they're all old. Because I'm a hoarder. Alright, let's try the India ink brush pen on a wet surface. I hope it doesn't ruin it. That is so neat. Cool. Just make sure it's still okay. That's cool. So you can get like kind of a smoky type of effect there if you use it wet. And that was really neat. That was cool. And see, this is why you got to do stuff like this. All right, how's our little contest going over here? That one's still a little wet. All right, so remember, this is the Pro Art, my favorite. This is the Black Cat. They kind of look similar right now. Let's work a little bit more. So these were all dry techniques up here. Let's use a wet brush on dry paper. I don't think it's going to make a difference, honestly. So this is wet. Yeah. Doesn't really make too much of a difference. It's really just the paper that makes a difference. Well, let's see what else we can do. Let's see what other effects we can make. That's so cool though. Look at that. It kind of just disappeared now. I wonder if we can do that with pens. Alright. So I have a Uni Pin. Now, this is probably not a legitimate one. I got them off eBay, just like I did with my Microns. I got them off eBay, so they're probably not legitimate. Well, they're most likely not legitimate. But why don't we see what we can do with these? Alright, this is a size 8. On dry paper. I'm just going to wet it with some water. And now, of course, I didn't give it time to dry, so. But also, look how blue that is. I don't know if you can tell. Maybe you can. It's very blue. It's not very black. There's a really funny show that my boyfriend introduced me to called Father Ted, where they actually made fun of the difference between black and very dark blue, and I thought that was really funny. You have to look it up. Look up Father Ted, very dark blue. So this is the Micron. This is a size 5, because that's what I pulled out. And I bought all these pens because I really wanted to try them out. Wow, this is blue too. Huh. Weird. Of course, these are not legitimate, so don't take these to heart. But if you buy pens on eBay, the ink is going to be blue. And if you don't give them time to dry, they're going to do that. But I did find when I was doing a lot of my marker work last year, I was lining a lot with these, and I found that they did not like to be colored on top of with marker. So I think it was really prevalent in a lot of my early Kiss the Cook videos with Hunk and whoever for Voltron. And I noticed that as soon as the marker went close to the line art, it would just start to like bleed, and it was so annoying. So yeah, I would totally recommend either getting legitimate pens or just using a dip pen, because dip pens don't do you wrong. They just don't. I actually did, hold on, let me pull them out. Ooh, let's work with dip pens too. Why not? That'd be fun. Okay, I've shown these a little before in my marker review for Blick Studio markers. All right. So I'm just going to show you the edge. I did a lot of this artwork with dip pens and markers, as well as a little bit of watercolor, and there's like absolutely no bleeding or anything anywhere. Also, using dip pens, the line art dries pretty quickly. You don't really need to cure it that much. I find that when I use pens, you have to wait, a very long time just to even feel safe, because I feel like sometimes it smudges and smears. But with dip pens, let's pull out our dip pen. Where is my dip pen? I need a different nib. I've had a calligraphy nib, I think. I think this is a calligraphy nib. I cannot speak. Let's use this one. I don't really know what it's called. I've seen various whatever names around the internet about what this is called. I don't really know what it's called. I don't know if it's a Maru pen or a G pen. I apologize. But I remember I bought this for... It was the Speedball cartooning kit, I think, and it came with a bunch of different nibs, which I still have to this day because I bought them years and years and years ago. Take care of your nibs and they'll do you right. Alright, so I'm just dipping a little bit, just enough to get a little bit of ink in the well there. Because if you dip too much, like this, or more, it's going to get everywhere. You're not going to get any thin lines. You'll get a big giant line, or you'll get a big old drop of ink on your paper. Alright, you know what, let's make it a little eye. Let's make an eye. We'll just freehand something. I gotta watch my arm here. I love this. And I love the scritchy scratch. Need to dip back in. We'll make an eyebrow, why not? They are so satisfying to work with. But I do recommend just taking the time. You have to take the time to sit down and play with your art supplies because you don't know how they're going to work together. Or you could just be like me and just jump in and then be upset that it didn't work out the way it did. Done that quite a few times. Here, let's check on our contest here. Alright, I don't know if you guys can tell, but I can tell that there is a difference in, I don't know, color. This one is more of a cooler black and this one is more of a warmer black. I'm not going to get into it today about what the difference is between warm and cool colors. Just look that up on your own time. Maybe some other time I will take the time out of my, you know, to explain it, but this one, it just, I don't know. This one covered good, but this one covered great. And it might be because it's thickened over time. I don't know. I'll have to see if maybe I can get a hold of the new repackaged ink and see if it's any better or the same or whatever. All right, let's continue. We'll just make a little eye here. I watched a documentary a little while back about manga artists, and oh my gosh, like, they are just so, I mean, it seems so silly to say they're so professional. Of course they're professionals, but like, when you watch them work, it is like, I don't even know, it is their art process and their work ethic is incredible. I mean, I'll have to see if I can find it and put a link below because I was just like flabbergasted. Because I mean, they can ink an entire page. I think the one guy spent a couple of hours. He spent like 3 hours working on one page, but I was like, just the detail. Wow. Yeah, I'm not going to get too crazy with this. I'm just going to rinse off my brush here just quickly so I don't have to get up and clean it. Clean your brushes properly. All right, look up the proper cleaning methods. Okay, so I'm going to let that kind of sit there. Maybe we'll work with other stuff. Let's do the same thing with a brush. Do I have a thinner brush? I do. I do have a thinner brush, but I don't have a thin brush. The only liner brush that I have is really long. I need a smaller one. Look at this. It's like a rat tail. I have another one that's small. This one's a little stiffer. Let's try it. Alright, so with the G pen, or whatever pen I'm using, I'm sorry, the pen nib, you get nice crisp lines. With this not so great artist quality brush, it's going to look a little bit rough. The lines are thicker. It's hard to get variation. Or not variation, it's hard to get consistency. You can get lots of line variation with a brush, like in texture. You can use the surface of the paper to get texture. But depending on the size of your brush, it'll be harder to make smaller lines. But if you need an up close, or if you have like an expression that your character needs to make, maybe a brush will be good for that. Okay, one more. I love these dip pens. Let's do one more nib. I had to switch holders though. Let's see what we should use. Let's use that one. There we go. Use a different. I'm using this kind of nib now. I don't know. I really should learn the names of my nibs, but I don't. Okay, and it goes in a brown holder because that's just the kind of thing it is. So, see? This one has that, and this one's more of a barrel. So they have different holders. I'm sorry that this camera doesn't focus. It's my webcam. I don't know. Alright, so we're gonna work a little bit more. Let's move over a little bit. Move to this side. I'm still looking at this little contest we have going. They're dry now. They don't take very long to dry. What should we draw now? Let's just draw like a head. Let's just sketch a head. The way I sketch, I'm just gonna sketchy sketch. I'm a very messy sketcher. I always start with like lines like this. Of course, don't do your like constructive line work if you want to, you know, actually finish a product, because they will not go away. They are there forever. But I'm doing this because it's my sketchbook and I can. And I can't really say for sure what kind of like techniques to use as far as dip pens go. I find, because I don't know if it's because I'm left-handed or if it's just because it's most comfortable for me, but I like to work I like to work upward and to the left. So down and to the left is how I like to work. But that's not always possible without completely turning my picture, which I don't like to do when I'm on camera, because I like you guys to have consistency with your vision. And we're doing ink today because I do ink a few times during the 30 days, 30 ways series, so it's just something fun. Wow, this is not good. I don't know what I'm drawing or who I'm drawing. I am just drawing. Sketching. Just sketching. Sometimes it's fun to just sketch without any inhibitions. Just go for it. Without it, you know, without worrying about it looking good, just do it, you know? What kind of hair should this character have? They look male. So I'm going to make them have, how about we do spiky, like, spiky hair. In a lot of my older drawings, growing up, a lot of my characters had spiky hair. But I attribute that mostly to the way I learned how to draw. And that was mostly through a book called How to Draw Manga by Katie Coop. And I don't know if it's still being published today, but it's a very old book. I got it when I was 11. Blushies. As Mark Crilly would say, blushies. And of course, I'm using a small nib, so I'm getting these nice fine lines, like squishy scratch lines. If I were to press harder, I would get that. I don't really like to do that too much, especially since this is watercolor paper. You can use pen nibs on pretty much any kind of paper, but you do have to watch that they don't get ruined or broken, or sometimes if you look really closely at the tip of your pen, the prongs can actually get out of place. I haven't had that happen yet, but I know it is a possibility. But replacement nibs you can pretty much buy at any time. So, ooh, let's give him a weird hairdo in the back. Now he looks like Pearl from Steven Universe. Oh, but he doesn't have a big nose, and that's like her whole thing. Love her nose. Alright, well, he's just a cutie. Cross-hatching is something that I really want to try out more. I haven't done cross hatching for 30 days, 30 ways yet, but it is definitely a possibility. I actually don't have all the pictures done for it yet. I didn't want to wait and be like in October and do them all like every single day because that would just be way too much. So, but it'll be fun. All right. Remember to clean your brush nibs the correct way. But I'm on camera, so can't really do that. Alright, we have been filming for half an hour now. And I will be quite truthfully honest. I don't really know what else to do. Let's see, you know what? Why don't we pull out a colored pencil? Or not a colored pencil. Let's pull out... Well, we can pull out a colored pencil. I just want to do a little bit more with you guys because it's only been a half an hour. I usually try to make these 45 minutes to an hour. Let's pull out a bright colored pencil. Let's pull out yellow. Or green. No, let's do yellow. Yellow is pretty bright. Alright, these are Faber-Castell watercolor pencils. And these are artist grade. So they are pretty decent. So why don't we just have a little fun here, okay? Here, let's bring you down a little bit more. I'm sorry if the white camera just doesn't focus on anything. I don't know what to do with the white camera anymore. There we go. Okay. So we will just color. Let's color a little bit right here. Let's pack on some color here. And we'll just play. We'll play with the ink. See what the ink does. See what the ink does on top of that. Let's use a dry brush just so we can kind of see. So this will be the wet side that I'm doing right now. This is the dry side. So let's do the dry side. Alright, so this is a dry brush with India ink on top of a watercolor pencil. Alright, so it doesn't seem to be doing anything. Well, Noel, why are you doing it then? Because I want to know. Alright, so that's good to know that it doesn't mix. Now let's try it with a wet brush with ink and see if the wetness of the brush helps, like mix or anything. Not really. Okay. I mean, it's good to know. You gotta know these things. There's still a little product left. So what I'm gonna do, I have clean water over here. That's why I'm leaning. Really clean water. Alright. So why don't we just wet this half. And see if that helps at all. I'm running out of dry brushes. Alright, so dry brush, wet paper. Interesting. So it did spider and feather. So wet brush, wet paper. That one spidered out a lot. Okay, so this was definitely more subtle, but that one was more dynamic. So that was interesting to note. I'm going to write this down. Always write down your notes. That way you can come back to your like sketch pages and see them later. Dry. This was wet. This was the dry side. This was the wet side. Okay, dry. And this was wet. Okay. Dry. Will they make sense? Probably not. Okay, colored pencil. Let's try colored pencil. Since colored pencil is really waxy, I'm wondering if that will make a difference with anything. Also, I do know that coloring over will like build up some stuff. It'll build up that pigment. So that I was aware of, because I've seen that quite a few times whenever I do watercolor. And I'm taking a wet brush with some India ink, or not India ink. Why am I doing that? Take water. I want water. Clean water. Clean water. Okay, let's see what happens here. Hopefully it doesn't make my ink run. No, this is the good ink. So I can paint on top of the India ink, which is good to know, because that might be, oh, you see it's getting muddy now. I wonder if that's because it's starting to like break down, the India ink. I don't know. Oh, yep, it was breaking down. It might not have been completely dry, or just the act of rewetting it so much made it break down. Let's try the other side. Let's try this one. This is the Black Cat India ink. So maybe don't rework that paper too much. Clean water. There we go. They both had about the same amount of time to dry. We've been filming for about a half an hour, so give or take 10-15 minutes. Alright, so if you're going to do this, be quick about it and don't rework the paper that much. And I guess let it dry thoroughly in between. That way the ink has time to also re-dry. So that's an interesting thing that could be useful. If you don't want to use white paper, you can probably cover it with ink. That's interesting. Okay, so colored pencil. I gotta put away my watercolor pencil. I don't know if I'll ever get through these watercolor pencils. It seems like it takes forever to use them. Alright, so colored pencils. I don't remember where I put them. This could be a conundrum. Oh, that's right. Okay. I have about 50 of these pencil cases, and they're all the same color. So I never know what I'm going to get. Alright, the first color I see here is orange, so let's use orange. Alright, so colored pencil. Let's move over here. Like I said, we're just exploring. We're having an exploratory day. Alright, there's not much you can do with colored pencil because it's a dry medium. And these are, you know, these are not artist grades, so the wax is really hard and not very blendable. What is this, Crayola? Yeah. No, it's rose art. I always liked rose art. Some people don't like rose art. I feel like there's a team rose art and a team Crayola, and honestly, I just work with whatever I got. I always thought rose art had more colors. I don't know if that's true or not. Why don't we paint? I don't think it's going to make a difference if it's dry. Actually, it might make a difference if it's dry or wet. Maybe. I'm running out of brushes. I'm running out of dry brushes. Okay. So this is dry brush with India ink. on top of crayon. That's really cool. The ink, at least this Black Cat ink, because it isn't that opaque in my opinion, it's kind of like seeped into the white spaces. Oh, this is an awful camera. It seeped into the white spaces, and so you can just barely see the wax, the crayon wax. Let's use a wet brush and see if that helps or makes a difference. Okay. If I lay it on thickly enough, it just completely, in spots, covers. But I do see some of the wax coming through. So, but the dry side, you can definitely see the wax. And this side is kind of iffy. Maybe with more coats, it would be different. Let's try something else. What else was I going to try? Oh, I wanted to try a pen nib on top of crayon wax, just because. Just to see what would happen. Also, crayon on top of. It's a little bit hard to see. Look how like opaque that is. So watercolor pencil on top of India ink is definitely something interesting to try. Pen nib, here we go. Okay. I'm just gonna do like stupid stuff. Alright. I don't know how bad or good this could be for your nib, so just play it by ear. Alright, so that seemed to completely cover that area that I just did. And it might be in part due to the fact that perhaps the nib is scraping off the crayon wax. Or not the crayon. Have I been saying crayon wax? Colored pencil wax. When I do these long videos, I don't quite remember what I say. But that's interesting. Alright. I don't know what more we could do today. I pulled all of these ideas out of my head just now. And actually, we did this whole video without any stops. So that's pretty cool. No edit. I don't really even have to edit this much. Awesome. Okay, but anyway, unless I can figure out some other ink-related techniques, I don't really know how often I'll be doing these kind of like experimental videos. Maybe once a month. I'm not sure. You guys tell me. So we'll have to play that by ear. But that was really fun. I had a lot of fun doing this. This was like nice and relaxing, and I learned some things today. And I hope you learned some things today, because that's what my channel is all about. Alright guys, so let me just clean up a little bit here. I'm going to clean up and we're going to just end things. So thank you guys so much for joining me today. If you like these kinds of videos, as well as other art-related videos, I would totally appreciate if you would subscribe, and remember to draw what you love and love what you draw. Since the webcam does not record very well, or it's not that it doesn't record very well, it's just that it doesn't get up close like I can with this camera. Just wanted to show you guys some of the detail that we did today. I also took the time to label everything so that I have these for my own notes. So as you can see, yeah, we definitely did a lot today. A lot of really fun work. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Oh, and here's what I tried to get at. I don't know if it records very well, but the Pro Art is definitely more opaque in my opinion. But it did have that problem with the bleeding. But I don't know if that's because I overworked the paper or not. But yeah, that was the work we did today. And I will post this probably somewhere so you can take a little bit of a look at it. Hey guys, just a quick note because I forgot to mention it during our paint with me today. The real-time paints that we do on Wednesdays will be replaced with the corresponding 30 days video. So we will not have any real-time paints for the month of March. They will be back in April, and hopefully I will have new things to paint for you. So I hope you can look forward to that. And I also hope you look forward to the 30 days, 30 ways series, because I have been slaving over it for forever. So thank you guys. I will see you later.